Good afternoon and welcome to the Lunchroom on Radio Caribbean International for Friday, November the 24th, 2023. This is program number 1100 and I'm your host, Calix George Jr. And in addition to 101.1 FM radio, you can get us at our website. It is rcisaintlucia.com, and we're also up and running on our YouTube feed. Just search for Radio Caribbean International on that platform, and of course be sure to subscribe to the page and share it with your friends and family. Now, if you want to tell us what's on your plate today, the number to do so is 452-3046. Again, 452-3046, as well as our WhatsApp number. That is 724-0008. Again, you can message in or call in to our WhatsApp number. It is 724-0008. Now, some birthday wishes going out to Miss Shanna Amede. Happy birthday to you, and we're wishing you an absolutely wonderful and fantastic birthday. And still sending some birthday greetings across all the way to Australia to Mr. Guy Garsonet. Happy birthday to you, and we do wish you the very, very best of birthdays. Now, a bit of history for today. In the year 1859, English naturalist Charles Darwin published his paper and was entitled On the Origin of Species, and that radically changed the view of evolution and laying the foundation for evolutionary biology. In the year 1950, the United Nations troops began an assault intending to end the Korean War by Christmas. 1954 saw France sending 20,000 soldiers to Algeria on this day, and in 1974 on this day, the most complete early human skeleton discovered was discovered by Donald Johansen, Morris Taib, Eve Coppens, and Tim White, and she was named Lucy, believed to be a species called Australopithecus, and that was discovered in the middle awash of Ethiopia's Afar Depression. We now move on to our dish of the day. The Daily Dish is brought to you the kind compliments of our good friends at Tiles Plus.
One tiles for your home, I see. Bathroom, kitchen, pantry. Need tiles for your balcony. Come down to Tiles Plus, satisfaction guarantee. Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus. Big tiles with unbeatable cost. Customer service, A+. This all kind of tiles. Come down to Tiles Plus. We also got gasway and vanity. Box, doors, you'll see. Come down, don't mind nobody. We got the best tiles on island. Trust me. We are located Land Street in Castries, Bosses Jugos and Slack Street in Beaufort. Telephone number 453-7939. Tiles Plus.
Serving now, the Daily Dish.
And welcome back to the lunchroom here at Radio Caribbean International. Now, of course, cricket has long been perhaps the staple sport around the Caribbean, around the West Indies for many, many, many decades. Since it has been played here, and perhaps one can say even into the 19th century when it was first introduced. And the importance of coverage of cricket has certainly been very much very present and very much dependent on the cricket commentator. And of course, in the very early days, and when you were depending on radio, it certainly was all about the voice of that commentator describing what is happening on that field, on the pitch, and to give you a sense, really, of the game, because there was no actual visual element to it until later on. And it was perhaps within that time that we saw some cricket commentary greats coming to the fore. And certainly the Caribbean has certainly had their own fair share of that quality coverage of the game. Well, one individual who hails from the land of many rivers and great wealth right now, and in fact flowing with oil and gas as well, the land of Guyana, Cooperative Republic of Guyana, but calls St. Lucia his home, is that of Mr. Joseph Red Spurrer. And in fact, we should no longer be referring to him as just Mr. Joseph Reds Pereira, because he, in fact, has been conferred with an honorary doctorate from the University of Guyana. That happened just a few days ago, and certainly very, very well deserved. And to tell us about, again, that wonderful additional accolade, another feather in his cap, none other than Dr. Joseph Reds Pereira. Thanks for joining us today, Dr. Pereira, to share with us the moment of this new accolade which you have now been conferred.
Well, I must thank you very much for inviting me on your show. Yes, it was a touching moment. I was shocked. About a month ago, I received an email on Wednesday morning, quite early, indicating that they were offering me a doctorate. I had to quickly Google exactly what it was all about. What was the description of a doctorate? And well, on the 18th of November, 80 miles from Georgetown in Berbice at the campus in Kane, where some 300 students, have been also allowed to pass out with their honors. Well, I became the honorable doctor, but it was a touching scene. I've never really been through such a prompt ceremony, and I simply cherish the moment.
Indeed, indeed. And again, congratulations for that. I mean, people know you, of course, yes, in terms of your work, in terms directly in commentary, but it goes so far beyond that, and certainly in terms of the matter of sports administration, the behind the scenes that makes these events possible and makes the growth of sport possible. And certainly you have made a sterling contribution in that regard, both in Guyana as well as over in the Eastern Caribbean.
Yes, it all began when I was about 16 years of age. I started to put together little football teams playing friendly matches all over the place. Also, the same for cricket. Drawing my former schoolmates, drawing new friends, and it was an exercise that helped me later on, because you had to mobilize people, you had to mobilize the funds to buy the gear, you had to be thinking out of the box maybe before I even realized I was thinking out of the box. And you had to be able to plan an event that would get an opposition to say, yes, we'll play, and get the pitch prepared, or get the football ground prepared, get permission to use the ground, find a referee, find linesmen. And, I think that was my early sort of development. And then I started to play a fair amount of football. I made my debut on a Wednesday afternoon. It rained, cats and dogs, for the Georgetown Football Club, and we won 1-0. And I played a little bit of hockey. I played goalkeeper field hockey. Played volleyball for a team called Jokma. I was not anything near a spiker, but I was maybe more of a defensive player, maybe a setter. And that's how I got called the name Reds, because I had red hair, natural red hair, if I may say. And out of one of 9 children, I was the only one with red hair. The press simply got on to that and started calling me Reds. And it stuck. So that was my early early kind of beginning, but as most people know, that I had a major speech problem. I stammered really badly, and I struggled a lot in school, and that affected my education. And I was on a job of work at 16 at the British Guiana Credit Corporation, which was an organization that lent money to farmers and people to build houses and things like that. And my mother allowed me fantasy. I would lie in bed when I was a young man and do also the imaginary cricket commentaries with Statham bowling to the Worrell and Truman bowling the Canai and Sobers. And I think it was very helpful to, at that stage of my life, to believe that you can somehow or the other overcome this without maybe having knowledge of how to beat stammering.
Mm-hmm. Of course, you also made a very important contribution right here in the Eastern Caribbean. In fact, you were even up on the Mon, I think, at some point regarding the OECS Sports Desk. Tell us a little bit about that and how you felt. How do you feel now? I mean, looking on, in terms of you being so avant-garde at that point, and have we moved forward? Are we moving back in terms of this issue of regional sport?
Well, before we deal with the negative, I was going to Los Angeles in the Olympic Games. I was working in Barbados with, I think it was then VOB, and telephone rang one day, and it was Dr. Von Lewis saying, hello, I'm Dr. Von Lewis, Director General. I said, well, I know about the organization because the CBU had done a whole thing on the OECS. And he said, look, we are planning to have a meeting in Montserrat, and you are one of the 5 or people who have been thought of. Are you interested? Well, it was a yes and no answer. It didn't have a time to go into all the details. Life after cricket commentary or mixed cricket commentary with something else. And I said yes. Came back from LA and the phone rang and said, well, you need to be in St. Lucia October 1, 1984. That's how it started. And, it was a challenge. It was a challenge because UNESCO, who sponsored the desk, didn't quite provide, let's say, $100,000 to kickstart the program. I mean, you were dealing with 8 islands, but the cricket and the cricket fraternity, the cricket union, the brotherhood came to my rescue, so to speak, or came to the rescue of the sports desk, and we were able to get the desk self-funding. But we did, in fact, also pull in some extra money. One of the things I did beg for is that the funding for the sports desk must be separate from anything else within the organization. And, it worked because I think there was a great collaboration with the ministers of sport and the sports directors. And the media played a huge part. I mean, I remember in the early weeks, Teddy Francis, who I still see very often, used to be with HTS then in the early days, and he will come knock at my door 3 days a week to find out what's coming up, what's being planned, what was staged, what was the result like, etc.
Indeed. And where we are at now, I think, in terms of that thrust, I mean, I know there were so many initiatives that we've seen come and go with respect to sport and the matter of sports tourism. There was certainly a time when that was a very important buzz phrase. Has that sort of dried up, in that type of enthusiasm regarding the making sport viable as a pursuit?
Well, I did have 5 or 6 years at the tourist board, where it became a reality. I mean, we had the Helena of the West netball tournament where we had Trinidad teams and Barbados teams and St. Vincent and Antigua and Dominica. And, it was sports tourism in action. They paid their way. They looked after their own hotel bills. And, we had the Sir Vivian Richards Golf Classic, where he gave his name free of charge. And we played on the free day when there was a cricket tour on. There were a number of other initiatives. But unfortunately, that was not continued. And I think at that time, you had Hilary Modest at the tourist board, and you had Desmond Skeet, and they were fairly progressive thinkers. And one of the ideas we introduced to make when the World Cup was coming up and when the test matches were coming up, we were able to get immigration officer along with myself, let's say, to go to the country where they would be before coming to St. Lucia and pre-clear all the players, all the officials, all the television people. So when they arrive, there was a system where their passport will have the relevant sort of note to say they have been pre-cleared, and they will be out of the George Shores in 5 minutes. But that did not continue, unfortunately. I have tried for 3 or 4 years to try and get sports tourism going again, but I have not been successful. Maybe it's not a priority right now. I mean, there's so many tourism activities that get people to come to St. Lucia that it's not a priority right now as far as I know.
Mm-hmm. You, of course, are no longer a redhead. You're more silver now. Certainly, you've seen a lot over your decades of experience. Looking back, especially in terms of your in moments in terms of observing the field and commentary, any very fond moments there that come to mind that really make you happy?
Well, I was lucky enough to be chosen by the Caribbean Broadcasting Union along with the late Tony Cozio to do the 75 World Cup and the 79 World Cup. Those were special moments.
Right.
I go back to going to Dominica and the Common Islands beating Guyana, with Guyana having 6 test players. That was a very special time. It was great for the Common Islands. 1975, we were just about to lose to Pakistan when Murray and Roberts added 64 runs in the last cricket partnership. If we had lost, we would have been kicked out of the World Cup. Australia 1992, we won by 1 wicket. McDermott caught Murray for Walsh. It was awful tension. Clive Lloyd's team beating Australia for the first time at Adelaide. We had beaten Australia in test matches, but we had never won a series. That was just fortunate to be part of that. Fortunate to be part of that. But I mean, I would think that my biggest, if I can say, my biggest success was a collective success involving a lot of other people. which I've explained, sports directors, ministers. I mean, when I came here, Aldith Isaacs was the PS sport, and she was very helpful. I think the OECS sports desk was maybe the best thing that I was part of.
Indeed, indeed. Your favorite commentators, personally? I mean, there's no real commentator school that one goes to. A lot of it, I know, doubt is really the practice of it. Listen to it and get involved. In terms of your model, your role models coming out of it, was it a John Allard? I mean,
Well, there could only be one John Allen. You could ever have a
no replica, no ability.
no. He's very special. He was a Hampshire policeman. He was asked to do a report on cricket one day, and he did it so well that he didn't last too long as a policeman. he became, but he was a writer also.
Right.
Allen only did about 44 test matches because, when he got into commentary, he had moved on in age. But you had people like E.W. Swanton, Rex Alston from England, and later Christopher Martin Jenkins and Henry Blofeld. But I think I was more attracted to the Australian style of
okay. So yeah, Richie Benaud types.
Yes, and in 1951, at the age of 11 or 12, I listened to the West Indies on shortwave radio from Radio Australia, and did that again in 61. I was sitting in the back of a chair and not wake up the entire house, and I was listening on shortwave radio. I think it was on the 19-meter band on Radio Australia. And later on, in 51, Alan McGilvery stood the test of time, and I was able to work along with Alan McGilvery. And I think both myself and the late Tony Crozier benefited from working with McGilvery because he had a way of using the crowd effectively. You could say that Thompson comes in and bowls to Richards. Richards drives, and straight away you say nothing because the crowd is going to be saying just about what is happening. And he was fairly intense. He had a little bit of theatre. West Indies are 2 for 61, and it's going to be Gil Lilly to bowl to Richards. Richards on the back foot cuts it away to that kind of drama, and I think he was a fine example. But of course, you will say it with your own accent.
Certainly very poetic as well, and some of the lines and descriptives, of course, one had to have a very wide vocabulary to be able to capture sometimes these moments.
Ireland was great than that, I mean, I remember listening. There was a test match at Headingley where there's a lot of rain falling at that time. And the BBC announcer said, well, let's get an update from John Allard and what's the position. And he came in and says, well, I'm tempted not to say good morning because it's not a good morning. It's so cold and gray, not even the pigeons have appeared. And then in 1950, when Raminen and Valentine were bowling maidens after maidens to Edridge in Seoul, they couldn't get the ball away at all. He said, and Raminen and Valentine must have bowled more maidens than we have in the stands here at Lord.
Oh, Lord. Indeed. These moments, it's very hard to, in fact, to recapture them. Your thoughts on these? I mean, because obviously it's a different era now, different sets. One may say even a different class of commentary being put out, and I don't know. I mean, obviously it's hard to replicate this golden era of radio commentary. Do you think there should be some means by which it is captured in a museum or cricket hall? I mean, how are we really celebrating these moments?
Well, I will think that the BBC, because of their great history and their great resource, and I would think that the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, maybe New Zealand, they would have recordings. They will have recordings of great test matches, of recordings of international matches. But I do not believe that that is easily funded.
Right.
There's always a librarian who is responsible for collecting tapes and labeling tapes and say 75 World Cup in England or 79 World Cup in England or West Indies versus Australia, blah blah blah. That kind of detailed work, I don't believe, for the last 15, 20 years have continued. And remember that cricket was on AM radio. Now you have so many FM stations that that kind of librarian work, I'm not sure is happening.
Well, let's hope that it is being archived somewhere and that it is, in fact, something that perhaps at some point somebody will be able to go back and say, hey, we're opening a school of cricket commentary or something of the sort to really share and to be able to inspire this a new class perhaps of cricket commentary even today.
The CPL is a different kind of party type of commentary. The CPL commentators are biggest party in sport in town, and you don't hit a six and somebody says, well, that's a six. That's a maximum. The language has changed a great deal. But less radio is being done. Less radio is being done. Since the days of Radio St. Lucia, of course, which has, doesn't exist anymore in that format. FM radio, AM radio has virtually died away, and then not many countries in the Caribbean are carrying ball by ball. Maybe Barbados, maybe a little bit in Guyana, but not too sure whether radio commentary is going to live. What's happening now is that because of the technology, there's a lot of streaming going on. It's happening right here.
Yes, certainly.
A lot of stuff is being streamed. I've done some, T20s and some T10s where, they have used the streaming where you're going beyond the shores of the Caribbean. You're going to the world, You get some amazing feedback that people in Switzerland is sort of listening to you. But the language has changed because if people are seeing, if people are seeing Pereira comes in and bowls, if people are seeing Pereira bowling to George, you don't have to say that. You
Precisely.
have to say what kind of delivery, what kind of shot George was looking to play. He seems to be a strong back foot player. He hasn't played too many balls through cover. He seems to not be strong on the drive.
It becomes a lot more about the context of
Yes.
the game and the statistics and sharing those types of other stories, but really not about the ball by ball.
No, you
Yeah.
don't make an issue of a no ball. You not say that's a no ball because everybody's seeing that. You probably ask your comments man, why? What's the problem? Is he falling away? Is he rolling from too wide of the crease? Not is he getting too much swing?
Mm-hmm.
The language has changed a great deal. In fact, look, I'm very happy I was born in 1939 because these days to emerge as a commentator is not that easy because the opportunities are not that great.
Right.
Not that great. And sometimes, like Severa Richards' son, Marley Richards, who is a very good commentator. He didn't quite match his father. That was difficult for anyone to match, but he's a very good commentator, but he's not being used. So, the opportunities must be given to people who've got the ability. I've always felt that Claudius Emmanuel,
Mm-hmm.
who in another area of life, would have been an excellent commentator if he was given an opportunity. But sometimes the small islands of the Caribbean don't get that, and of course you don't have a CBU that is functioning where somebody could nominate. I think you all need to give this young man a try. But if he was given an opportunity, I think he will do a very, very good job. But here's hoping that he's still a comparatively young man. He still has passion for broadcasting, and I hope that the powers that be give him an opportunity.
Indeed. Well, Red, it has been, again, a wonderful pleasure to have this interview with you, and of course, for you to be so willing to share your wealth of experience over the years, and of course, this new, certainly new, I would say, achievement that you have certainly been placed in, and of course, a very special class of being conferred an honorary doctorate from the University of Guyana.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
thank you very much. As I said before, and many other interviews, the opportunities that other people provide that helps you along the way without people giving you opportunities. Just before I go, one of the things I'm conscious about, and this is not just a St. Lucia problem, I would think throughout the region, the club structure is very weak. The kind of clubs that you grew up with a boy, I think Ruben Cox was telling me that there's some 12 to 14 clubs that have virtually disappeared from his young days. We have teams, but we do not have a non-playing executive to build that club.
Right.
To create club life, to create discipline, to create the development of people, to link the club with the community, to do community projects. I don't believe that is very strong, and it's not just a solution problem. I think you have teams don't make a strong association.
That's a very important message, no doubt, that you're making, that sport is beyond the court or the playing field.
The effective use of human capital, the effective use of sponsorship. When you have a club, you can lose your first five matches, and the club will still finish the season. When you have a team, you lose the first five matches. Nobody's turning up anymore. The sponsor is saying, "Hey, what's happened? So and so gave a walkover." It has a negative effect on the running of a competition.
Indeed. Dr. Pereira, it's always been a pleasure, and it's great to hear your voice, as always, on radio. Thank you so very, very, very much to you, of course, for sharing with us this very, very momentous and special
and if I
occasion.
may steal something, of recent hours, let me congratulate you on your marriage.
Oh, thank you very much.
Right, and wish yourself and your other half the very best. You'll probably have to spend a little less time on radio and spend a little more time at home.
Perhaps so. Thank you.
Right. Okay, good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you too.
Here in St. Lucia and beyond.
And wonderful. And of course, we have just been speaking with Dr. Joseph Redspur. I didn't know that's how he got his name, but of course, we always learn something new. And that's been our dish of the day.
This has been The Daily Dish.
One tiles for your home, I see. Bathroom, kitchen, pantry. Need tiles for your balcony. Come down to Tiles Plus, satisfaction guarantee. Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus. Big tiles with unbeatable cost. Customer service, A plus. Need all kind of tiles. Come down to Tiles Plus. We also got gasway and vanity. Books, doors, you'll see. Come down, don't mind nobody. We got the best tiles on island. Trust me. We are located Lance Road in Castries, Bosses Rue, Brozile, and Flax Street in Beaufort. Telephone number 453-7939.
Make your home merry and bright with Island Style's massive Christmas sale. Our wide range of porcelain and ceramic tiles are on sale up to 50% off. And that's not all. Save up to 15% off. Bathrooms with bundle and save. The more you buy, the more you save. On gorgeous bathroom vanities, bathtubs, faucets, shower glass, toilets, and more. Plus, contractors and tilers are in for a treat with our special discounts on tiling tools and accessories. Sale on now at all locations: Castries, Rodney Bay, and Beaufort. Or call 450-452 or 453 Tile. It's time to deck the halls, deck the walls, or even deck the deck with huge Christmas savings only at Island Style.
And welcome back to the lunchroom here at Radio Caribbean International. Of course, the number to call in to tell us what's on your plate for the next 18 minutes or so. It is 4523046. Again, 4523046, as well as our WhatsApp number. It is 724-0008, 724-0008. Of course, we've been seeing a bit of more drama in the House of Assembly. And in this instance, the House Speaker has had to sound a warning to effectively the matter of chaos, what he has termed the chaos in Parliament. And that, of course, has been over some back and forth with the leader of the opposition, of course, refusing to stand down. And that was the scene on Tuesday when the House met. And, of course, the Speaker coming today to make a statement in the House. And that is being captured across a number of various media houses, including St. Lucia Times, just to share that story with you. House of Assembly Speaker Claudius Francis has warned against chaos in the Parliament, declaring that he would not allow it. Quote, "I will not allow this House to be deliberately and calculatedly brought into chaos, because there are those in and out of this chamber who believe I lack certain authority," Francis asserted on Friday. Earlier this week, Francis announced to the House that he was considering discontinuing live broadcasts and would rule on the issue when the Parliament reconvened. His announcement came after a fiery session, including an exchange with opposition leader Alan Chasney. During the exchange, Chasney, MP for Micoud South, refused to sit down. Sorry about that. Just give me a second. Refused to sit down when Francis repeatedly indicated that he should. The House Speaker eventually addressed the Government Information Service, GIS crew, telling them he had the authority under the standing orders to turn off their cameras. His remarks triggered public debate regarding whether he had overstepped his authority. Chasney's United Workers' Party accused Francis of attempting to suppress parliamentary transparency. However, during Friday's House sitting, broadcast live, Francis told the chamber he knows what he can and cannot rule. Quote, I have checked the relevant legal and other authorities. I certainly know how far my authority and responsibilities extend, he stated. Francis said since becoming Speaker, he has only acted on the authority the Standing Orders and Privileges Act give him. He recalled that on Tuesday he ruled against a point of order raised by the leader of the opposition, raised by the leader of government business, who immediately but respectfully disagreed. Quote, but he just as quickly took his seat, the speaker noted. Quote, 2 days later, he has not even raised the issue with me, which he could do in his capacity of leader of government business, and for this I applaud him, Francis told the House. He said there was no dispute regarding the population's need to know and follow what transpires in the People's House. Quote, but never let it be believed that a live broadcast is a right. It is not, Francis asserted. He recalled that he was the one who removed the barriers placed by a former member and put on loudspeakers outside, dulled by a previous administration. Quote, it is this presiding officer who has a history of defending freedom of the press, Francis stated. Quote, I do not have any beef with any individual member of this House, including the leader of the opposition. In fact, I go further to say I share an excellent outside of the House relationship with the leader of the opposition, the Speaker explained. Francis said it was never his intention to interfere with the people's need to know. Quote, but we shall proceed with the clear understanding that I will not tolerate the disrespect I have allowed, the Speaker noted. He recalled that the opposition leader's mobile telephone rang on 3 separate occasions during Tuesday's sitting. Francis said had he acted under the House rules, there would have been confiscation of the phone and the opposition leader would have been asked to pay a fine. Quote, I did not intervene, the Speaker explained. So I don't know where my beef is with the leader of the opposition, Francis told the House. Nevertheless, he said disrespect to the chair, which has been evident, would not continue. And that story coming from the St. Lucia Times just a few moments ago, capturing part of the back and forth over the matter of the Parliament. And, of course, we also do note that the Speaker of the House has been engaged in different forms of media for quite some time. Of course, he was also a press secretary and has also been a talk show host for a number of years now, being in the public sphere for quite some time. But we've seen of late quite a lot of issues with respect to the behavior of House members and the decision by, particularly, of course, the leader of the opposition, not to, in fact, respect the decisions of the chair. And within the context of the House of Assembly, the individual who determines and who rules on the standing orders is the Speaker. That is the rule, that is the law that exists in terms of the management and operations of the House. It's, of course, a very powerful position within the confines of the House of Assembly. And the presiding officer does exactly that. He or she presides. And truth be told, this is not actually the first time that we've seen a certain level of rancor or a certain level of action being taken by this individual, Mr. Alan Chasney, towards presiding officers. We've seen it in the past with a number of other presiding officers having their own challenges with Mr. Chasney, even those presiding officers who, in fact, were elected at the time when his party had a majority within the House of Assembly. And one can say then, even in those instances, we've seen where a ruling has been given by the chair or a decision has been given, and he has decided to openly disagree with some of these rulings. Now, this is the thing about fair play, and this is the issue of dealing with these types of environments. If you're on a sports field, if you're on a cricket pitch, if you're on a football field, there are individuals who have the authority to make rulings to ensure that there is fairness within the confines of that space. In cricket, it'll be the umpire. In football or in rugby, it'll be the referee. And these individuals, their rulings are effectively final. You could, in some instances, and in some of these sports now, appeal to another referee or a third umpire, right? But even that is somewhat limited too. And quite often it is at the request or decision of the on-field umpire to make some of these decisions. So a lot of these things are in place to ensure fairness and ensure that everybody can actually be fairly treated. Now, this is, of course, an unfortunate situation because at the heart of it now, Parliament is there to serve a purpose. The purpose of Parliament is to undertake the creation of legislation, amendment of legislation, dealing with the laws of the country. It is a place of accounting. It is a place that gives clear powers to our parliamentarians to investigate, to form committees, to look into matters of finance, to look into matters of oversight. That is the role of Parliament. And it's unfortunate that what seems to quite often dominate and come out of Parliament is purely distractionary. It's purely without real depth in terms of the real business of the day with respect to Parliament. And we can think, for instance, the government in this session went to seek approval for borrowing of funds, for instance, from the Afri-Exim Bank. The first time that this is actually being done, of course, since this bank has been established and that relationship exists now with the Caribbean and this Afri-Exim Bank, and support there being received for the rehabilitation of a number of schools, including schools that had been damaged by by Tropical Storm Brett, and other borrowing that is going on, and other matters on the order paper, and none of that seems to be dominating. All that there is interest in seems to be that of the issue of the leader of the opposition wanting to not stand down and to effectively take away, it would appear, from the business of what is really should have been the focus at that time. But let's take in a call before we end the program. Good afternoon and welcome to the Lunchroom. What's on your plate today?
Mr. George.
How are you doing, sir?
Not too bad.
Wonderful.
Now, I was watching Hamas, they let go 13 Israel, 11 Thailand.
Mm-hmm.
In all together, they let go, how much they released?
It was
25 of them, I think.
It was 24, yes.
Yeah.
It was originally supposed to have been 50, according to what we were hearing earlier on.
No, they will by Monday or tomorrow.
But I suppose, right, so I suppose in trying to gain this pause, this is the first step within it to show that, we put forward some, and then as the pause continues in this warfare, more will be released.
Yeah. But what I call you about, there is a lot of oil and gas in that Gaza Sea, which Israel know that. And there's a lot
the
of
Mediterranean Sea, yes.
Pardon me? And there's a lot of gas in Lebanon as well, because they have some treaty, something going between Israel and for them to mine the gas, to bring it up. And so the gas that's in the Gaza, who it belongs to?
Well, put it this way, caller. Right now, the Palestinian Authority does not have any maritime space that it controls.
They don't have no control.
They have no control of the maritime space. Even their fishers have to abide by the laws and the rules that are set by Israel. So although they have, to some degree, I guess you could say, terrestrial control over Gaza, and I guess some may say also subterranean control, because they have all the various tunnels that we've been seeing that have been constructed. But in terms of control of the air and control of the sea, the Mediterranean Sea bordering the Gaza Strip, they do not have actual control. Everything has to be permitted by the state of Israel, so they certainly are very limited in that regard. And there has been a lot of speculation about the current scenario and this issue of oil and gas, as you're mentioning, and also the control of the potential development of gas lines from the Mediterranean across to Europe. That's also being touted as well. You, of course, have seen what has happened with Russia and the Nord Stream and the challenges there, and Europe wanting not to depend on Russia, of course, for its gas, which is, of course, really important, natural gas for its heating and in industry.
And that is what they have abundantly in the Lebanon and Israel Sea and in the Gaza Sea as well. They have a lot of gas and oil there. But what I thinking of, because most even Egypt wanted to make friends with Israel, and you find Qatar was another one. So because sooner or later Israel might become the Dubai of the Middle East. Once they start bringing oil up and gas up, they in charge of everything. Yeah? Well, on the Lebanon side, they have to share because they boundary, just like Britain and Norway. The oil they take
right. So they all have coastline on the Mediterranean, the Eastern Mediterranean, and so they would certainly of course have their exclusive economic zones, and of course they would want to be able to exploit those rights to the same. So yes, certainly.
But here what Benjamin Netanyahu saying, that they will take back the strip, and it's them that going to police it.
Well,
but America already said no. Biden said no. They have two states. Give the Palestinian a state and Israel a state. And that problem, that's the only way that could end up. When they talk about Hamas, who is Hamas? Where Hamas come from? And we're going to eradicate Hamas. How could you? I know they eradicate smallpox. They eradicate polio. They eradicate the other new one we have there right now. Ebola. But
yes.
How could you eradicate people, a nation of people?
Well, they've been trying to make that distinction that Hamas, as a terrorist organization, of course, some people tell you it's a lot more than that. It is, in fact, also a political institution. It's
But that's
so it certainly is
in
going to
their
be.
mind. That's what
But
in their mind.
the
and
language.
that's what they're doing. When you tell me you kill so many thousands of children and women, they are the people of tomorrow. You're killing them by the thousands. Over 5,000 children already died. So you eradicate them because they will never grow to see tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
They will never see tomorrow because you kill them today. So when they're saying they have it in mind, when they eradicate Hamas, it's the young people they eradicate that they'll never see tomorrow.
Well, and that is what a lot of people have been
tomorrow.
saying, that by these types of actions, these extreme actions, you're really just forcing a lot more individuals into this point of bitterness, into this reprisal, killing, the back and forth. I mean, as you rightfully have said, it's nearly 15,000 people killed in Gaza, and nearly 40,000 wounded.
They don't know
so
because the amount of children and the amount of people they have under the concrete.
Yeah, and
they don't
exactly.
Have, they don't have nothing to put in the machine to lift the concrete. So they all under there. So nobody knows the amount of people that those.
Yeah, or nearly it's over 7,000 people missing. So a lot of people unaccounted for. Those numbers are increasing by the day, and of course, you then have to ask, well, how do you really win this situation? If you believe that there are 40,000 individuals who are, plus you don't even know the exact number, who are somehow connected to or part of Hamas, you're right that when you use that terminology of people are monsters. These aren't human beings. They are monsters, and you want to eradicate them. It is certainly very, very incendiary. It's not going to be helpful for any kind of peace or negotiation or trying to achieve a situation that is sustainable. So you are very correct about that, caller. And it is a very, very sad state of play. And I suppose we will have to continue to see how it pans out over the weekend, given that there is this ceasefire.
There's a pause for
4 days.
Yeah, for 4 days.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, they tell you Israel working very hard because what they're trying to do is to detect where they're taking those hostages, where they have them, where they're hiding them. So when the war starts, they will let go these big bomb. And Biden, I don't know, but I don't think they will vote him back in power. Because Biden cannot tell me, after you see what's going on there, you send a ship with, they call them the Dumbuster, more heavy equipment, more powerful equipment for Israel to bomb those people?
Yeah,
and it's saying it.
Yeah, well, I mean, that has been the reality. The United States has been funding, has been the biggest donor to Israel, has been primarily Israel's checkbook when it comes to military expenditure, nearly $3.9 billion of aid.
I saw they had something, Grenada. The Grenadian, they had a march and they take some letters to go to give to the Israeli diplomat or whatever, and he refused to take the letters. But I haven't had nothing much in St. Lucia. What's wrong with St. Lucia?
Well, you mean in terms of action? We'll have to wait and see. I mean, I know there's been a CARICOM message. Some countries have taken action, like Belize. So, yeah, we'll have to wait and see what is, if there's going to be some sort of public action on our end.
They want to eradicate. And that is the word Mitt using more frequent in his mouth. Yes, Netanyahu keep using that word. They're going to eradicate them. How could you tell me you build them up, you take them, you put behind a fence, And they can't go in the sea, they can't go in the air, they can't go by land, no way. And then when you finish, you tell them, then people, you eradicate them, and they allowed you to use that word and to do those things. What happened to the world?
Very sad, and it's not very helpful at all. It's definitely not, caller. We're going to have to end it here, though, because we're already over time on the program. Thanks very much for that contribution. And, of course, we're going to continue with our programming of at Radio Caribbean International. But, of course, you can join us again for another program of the Lunchroom next week, Monday. Hope you can join us for that. I'm your host, Alex George Jr., saying goodbye.